Hi, and welcome to The Curling Show, the podcast that brings you interviews with the sport's top athletes and the people who shape the game. Brought to you by Fit to Curl, a sport-specific guide to training for the world's greatest game, by 2010 Olympic gold medalist and Team Martin third, John Norris, with some assistance from me, Dean Gemmell. Buy a copy for yourself or for the curler on your holiday gift list at fittocurl.com or your favorite pro shop. Now, before we get started with this interview, a quick word about the fact that, for some reason, my voice sounds as though I am standing in the depths of the Grand Canyon. I would fix it if I understood what caused it. Instead, I've decided to fire my entire production team before the next edition of the show. But stick with it. The Canyon echo voice doesn't persist all that long and eventually goes away, and Jamie King's voice is unaffected. He's the skip of the rink that won the 2011 Meyers Norris Penny Charity Classic in beautiful Medicine Hat. Jamie King, welcome to the Curling Show.
Thanks very much for having me on the show, Dean.
Well, that's what happens, right? You win a spiel these days, you get in the show. Chris Gardner won a little while back, and the Stu Sells, you won in Medicine Hat. I really think, though, we need some curling events with shorter names. I know Meyers Norris Penny is the name of the company, but boy, Meyers Norris Penny Charity Classic, at least I didn't put curling in it anyways, gosh.
Yeah, that's a mouthful. That's a good promotion for Hooked on Phonics to figure out how to spell it all and everything.
Yeah, I just got through Curler's Corner Autumn Gold Curling Classic or something. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, they get longer, but sponsorship is key. So if that's what it takes. That's what it takes.
We need the brick. That's what we need. So there you go.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Hey, so you lose 2 of your first 3 in the spiel. Then you rattle off 6 straight wins to claim the first place money. Is that what happens when you're an aging veteran? It takes you a while to get things moving, get things loosened up, but then once you get rolling, you're like a big old train and tough to stop.
Yeah, well, you know what? It wasn't a good start, and aging veteran is definitely a good term for our team because I think our average age now is 40. We're playing against all these guys in their young 20s, and quite frankly, it probably does take our team a little while longer to get going. And but once we do get going, veteran team, we kind of know how to get around the ice, so to speak, and finish off spiels. So it was good.
I remember talking to John Bass a couple of years ago, and he actually mentioned that when you're a little older and busier, he said the big thing was they didn't have as much time to practice, so when they get out there, it sometimes takes them a couple games. It would take them a couple games to find the groove again. Do you probably you have a busy job and life, I'm sure. You probably don't get as much time in the ice as you'd like.
Well, I definitely don't throw as much as what I used to 10 years ago when we were really going at it. You're throwing probably once or twice a week as opposed to other teams that are throwing almost every day. It's early in the season too, so a lot of that is just it's early. You haven't got out that much, and for us, Warren Hassel lives out in Lloydminster, and they've just put their ice in. So, October may seem later in the season for some teams. For us, it's still pretty early. So.
Now, you've always been not always, but often been a guy who calls a game and throws third stone. That's how your lineup is in the World Curling Tour team roster this year. But a clip on YouTube seems to indicate that you were throwing the brick in Medicine Hat. Is that what happened?
Yeah, we switched it up for the spiel. Like normally, I am calling the game based on my excellent sweeping abilities. They don't want me sweeping, but I throw third rocks, or lack thereof of sweeping ability. But for this spiel, we just decided to switch it around a little bit, and worked out well. And now we have no idea what we're going to do for the rest of the year. If I'm throwing the brick, or if Warren's going to go back doing it, we'll figure it out before Brooks next weekend, though.
I was going to say, was that a change that considering the fact that you went into the hat with what looks like about $400 in beer money from the shootout in the Saville Center, so not a good start for you in the first 2 spiels.
No, and with our team, that wasn't enough beer money either. So,
yeah,
but
and it was really all Warren's fault, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. We totally blame him. No, it was one of those things. The team wasn't going well, and again, Warren hadn't had a chance to throw many rocks, and decided that he wanted to switch it up for this weekend at least, just to sort of get his feet underneath him and not have the pressures of throwing the brick. And lo and behold, it turned out to be a pretty good weekend in the end. So
I think you got to roll with it now, Jamie. You got to roll that way for a while, just like a golfer gets on a roll with a putter. You got to keep going that way now.
Yeah, we'll see about it. I may have to. It's like the pro ball players. When they come to a different team and they got to buy the guy's number or whatever. I might have to buy Warren out in the skips rocks position here.
There you go. Buy him out with the $400 you won. You can buy him out with that.
Exactly, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
100 for you, so there you go.
Yeah,
Big 100 for him. Hey, looks like you beat Scott Bitts in an extra in the semi. Looked like a pretty interesting game. And then you got a young guy like Brock Virtue in the final, and it looks like you sort of bored him to death until he stopped paying attention, and then you had a nice shot to win.
Yeah, with Scott's game against Scott Bitts' team, it was the Bitsless team because Scott actually wasn't there because he and his wife I think they're due any day right now. So we managed to come back on them, and then with Brock's team, quite frankly, we had played 6 games in a row. We were tired.
And you got an average age of 40.
Exactly. We just decided that, you know what, we were going to keep it pretty simple for the start, and Brock had the hammer, so he was okay with that. And Brock's team and great young team, but quarters and the semifinals, they had a couple blowouts, so they really hadn't experienced a close game in the playoffs that weekend. So we thought, we'll keep it as close as we can for as long as we can, and then maybe as the pressure mounts, we might be able to get a miss or two out of them. And we were fortunate enough to get 1 or 2 misses and scored our deuce at the right time, and it worked out okay.
And your guys were happy just to jog along rocks and play a bunch of hits for a while.
Yeah, we're banking time.
There you go. Yeah. Hey.
Yeah, no, it was one of those games we were okay keeping it close for a while because we knew that if we got into a finesse game, as tired as we were, it was probably not going to be in our best interest. So,
do you think young Mr. Virtue changes his approach next time?
He might. I remember being in a situation years ago when we were the young team when I was playing with Blake and Blake McDonald, and we came into a spiel against Randy Furby, and he kind of did the same thing to us. And ever since then, I remember his words, distinctly. When you've got the team and you've got the horses, right from the first end, get after it. And Brock does have the team, so I think probably next time he'll probably play a little more aggressive.
About midway through, he said, "What am I doing? I'm playing Jamie's game. This is crazy."
Yeah, well, and quite frankly, that's not usually my game. My
right.
Game's a pretty aggressive game too, but sometimes the ice conditions and the situation dictates what you've got to do. But for them, it probably would have been in their best interest, having the hammer, and it's an 8-end game, probably junking it up a little bit more. But yeah, we were happy with the way things went.
You were the alternate on Kevin Cooey's rink at a number of big events these last few seasons. Of course, you played with Blake McDonald in the past. I think Blake might be a super spare for you this year, right?
He is actually. He's playing in a fun Thursday night St. Albert men's Thursday league with me and 6 other guys, and he's also we're bringing the old team back together, and we're going out to Victoria in November for a new WCT event, and it's Blake, myself, Todd, and Wade Johnson. So we're the team. That's the team that lost the 2005 provincial final to Randy Furby in an X-Trans. So
you're getting the band back together.
There.
You're getting the band back together.
We're trying to, anyway. So I think it's more for socializing, and we're getting a game of golf in, and we'll have some fun. We'll see what happens. So,
what did you take away from your experiences as an alternate on the Cooey rink?
How to make sure you get beer real quick for those guys. No, many things. They great bunch of guys. From an experience point of view, been around the game long enough, you see what it takes at the top level. But when you actually get into like a Brier final or a World final, there's a different level of intensity there, and those guys demonstrated in the shot making ability and the mental focus that they brought to the game and the preparation before the games and after the games. Was something that, quite frankly, I hadn't seen at that level before, and it was pretty amazing. It was an amazing run, that's for sure.
When you look at those guys, and there's a bigger commitment to fitness now. You look at a guy like Nolan and Carter; they're fit, and everything else. And a guy your age, do you look back sometimes and wish? I wonder if it's one of two ways. Do you wish you were playing younger now, or do you kind of wish that it was still like it was when you were younger?
You sure. I myself personally, because I'm probably not the fittest guy out there. I do wish that
Really?
Yeah, surprisingly enough.
You know what? I didn't realize you were a banker till we traded emails, but I knew you were a banker just by looking at you.
Yeah, no, I push a little bit of pen here and there. That's pretty much the weights that I push. But there's a part of me that says, I wish 15 years ago I got more into the fitness angle, and you see what guys like Nolan and Carter or Ben and Mark do, and the athletes that they are. But I wouldn't trade the experiences that I had from the game from 15 years ago and what we did then, and the level of curling, as good as it is right now, quite frankly, in the peak of the Furby time was just as good then too. So curling's always been difficult, but with the level of fitness the guys are taking it to, and the girls too, the game is as a whole at the top end. There's more better teams now because of it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think there's more depth, and I think the play is actually a little better than even during the Furby years. I really do. But of course, a guy like Wayne Middaugh has said that he thinks in the past, I don't know if he still sticks with this, but that he thinks the Olympics ruined curling because it was more fun.
Yeah, you look at the sport now and you see teams forming just for the basis of one opportunity every 4 years to get to the Olympics. And you may have guys that are out of province playing together, kind of thing, like you saw with Wayne and Johnny Mead there here the last quarter. And it's always, for me anyways, it's always been about, having fun, trying to get to a Brier. And the Olympics definitely has sort of professionalized the sport a bit more than what it was before, which you can say is a good or a bad thing. But, I like the days of Eddie Wernick and those guys where you go out and play in a spiel, have some fun, win some money, but, it's not the be-all, end-all that if you have one bad week at the trials that you feel like you've wasted the last 4 years.
Yeah, it's tough to argue with, when you think of guys like Wernick. I do think that, I don't know, I think it's a bit of a wash. I think the game's a lot better in some ways, but yeah, I mean, you think of the Wernick teams and, guys like Wernick and Kawaja and Harry and those guys that go out and have a good time and make everything the next day. It was maybe a little more interesting, but I think now we might get a little more credibility.
Yeah, for sure. I think we definitely get more credibility as athletes in this sport. I think I look at the level of shot making years ago. You look at Wayne's old team when he played with Russ and Glenn and
right. Well, Wayne and Pete Corner at front end.
Pete Corner and that team was as good as anybody. And quite frankly, the reason why maybe they didn't make as many shots back then as some teams do now is ice conditions are a lot better now than what they were before.
That's definitely true.
Yeah.
Interesting. Those guys won events under all different formats: free rock, 3 rock, or 4 rock rule, 3 rock rule, no free guard zone.
Yeah, well, it just goes to show how good a curlers they are. You can change the rules, but if you throw it well and you know the game, you're going to win in any format. So.
You mentioned guys coming in from out of province. How do you think Pat Simmons will fit in the Cooey lineup as the season wears on?
You know what? I think Pat is going to be a great fit for these guys. It's going to take them some time.
He's a little different personality for that team, though, isn't he?
For sure he is. Yeah, much different than Blake. He's a little more reserved than Blake, which is a good or a bad thing. But, you look at their team when they formed it with Blake 5 years ago. It took them the first half to 3/4 of that season to qualify in any spiel. So, they're not going to do that, obviously, with Pat in the lineup and they're veterans now, so to speak. But it'll take them some time to get going. But when they do, they'll be as good as anybody. Top 5 in Canada, anyways, for sure.
Do you think Blake will ever come back to the game seriously, or is he sort of done?
I think he's missing it a bit. He's busy with family and work. He's enjoying that aspect of his life right now. But I'd be pretty surprised if you didn't see Blake back at a competitive level at some point in time. And quite frankly, I'd be surprised if he didn't probably enter playdowns this year in some form or fashion as well. So.
Well, since you're out in Edmonton, what do you take of what's your take on the new Furby lineup that's actually had pretty good success so far?
Yeah, you know what? I going into this year with those guys, they're quite a talented bunch. Teddy dropping down to front end was going to be a change for him, and so you never know if there's going to be an adjustment period for a team. But they've obviously started out the season great, and they're going to be a tough team. One more better team in Alberta. It just gets tougher and tougher out here. Just
what you need, right? Yeah, I've asked a lot of guys from Alberta this, the question of whether you appreciate the fact that there are so many good curlers. It raises the level of your game, or do you or do you sometimes wish you wouldn't mind a few more Purple Hearts out of PEI?
Well, nothing against the guys out of PEI, but yeah, quite frankly, if some of us, Mark Johnson, myself, others, if we were playing at a PEI, would we have been to a Brier a few times before? For sure, definitely.
Yeah, you would have been.
But we wouldn't be as good at curlers as what we are. The level of competition that, first Pat Ryan's teams and then Randy Furby's teams and now Kevin Martin's teams have taken this game to, has just helped the sport in Alberta tremendously between junior curlers and the clinics that they put on and the level of curling that they force us to play at to be competitive with them. If we weren't playing them on a weekly or, weekend basis, we wouldn't be at that level. So, it's 6 of one, half dozen of another.
I think the value of the Purple Heart really started to go down when I got one in 1988. That's when it really
I think
diminished.
That's when it went off, Dean.
No, that's when it was, people were like, this is ridiculous. Anybody can get to this thing in the right province at the right time. But
I don't know about that, Dean, but anyway.
Well, I don't know. It is. I mean, I look at the group of teams out there, and you go a cut below in Alberta. You go to a team like Darren Moulding. I mean, he's a good curler, right? I mean, he can win a lot of games anywhere, right? I mean, it's kind of ridiculous.
Well, I look at a team like Brad Gouche's team, fantastic teams that he's had over the years, but one of Brad's greatest strengths is that, he's been able to get to the Briers so many times because, maybe he hasn't played against as many tough teams in Newfoundland to get there, but when he gets there, he's as good as anybody. But he's got that experience because he's always played under Brier, and so for a good young team that, say, did win Alberta, if they were to play against Brad's team, well, they don't have that experience, so being in those pressure situations has made a big difference for a team like that. Yeah,
and now now Brad's in a position where he can import players. He looks around and brings guys into Newfoundland. So
now he's got guys commuting from Alberta out there too.
Exactly. So. Yeah, it's like they're doing the reverse of what the oil patch used to be, I guess, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah. All right, Jamie, we finished with the run back. I give you a topic. You give me your thoughts in 1 to 3 words.
Sure, sounds good.
Goldman Sachs record loss last quarter.
Not unexpected considering the markets the way they are.
Well, there you go. I'm going to ask you a few finance questions since you're a commercial banker. I got to tell you, there's no World Bankers Championship, is there?
Not that I'm aware of, no. Right. I wish there was,
there's a guy down here.
A place like the Caymans or something like that.
Yeah, there's a good guy down here named Sean Silver, who's a pretty decent curler. You should talk to Sean about it. He's a commercial banker in Chicago.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
you guys could get a team together then.
Yeah, you guys will probably have some blowout, brouhaha with all kinds of money, and it'll get covered in the Times. And
hey, if the government, bails us out, then we'll be
exactly.
okay with it.
So. Well, pictures of you guys with ice fountains and stuff. It'll be great. And then they'll show the firefighters championship, and it won't be quite as grand, Jamie. And you'll have a lot of bad PR. So maybe that's a bad idea.
Yeah, no, I don't like that now.
How about the number of times you've been mistaken for model and actress Jamie King?
Not very often. I kind of wish I had her income though, because it's not quite the same. So.
It isn't really. You're not doing that kind of dollars.
Well, not to the same extent. No, the decimal point's in a little different spot on my income.
I'm sure you save more though, Jamie. So
Yeah, right.
This Nugent Hopkins kid.
Pretty good. He's making it tough for the Oilers to send him back down to juniors. I think he's here to stay now. So.
How about Ted Nugent?
Not quite as good as Ryan Nugent.
How about the Occupy Wall Street protesters?
You know what? They're in droves of tens and tens here in Edmonton protesting, and there's a few more down in New York.
Where do they march in Edmonton? Where do they hang out? Is there a park right by your office?
They're on Jasper Avenue, actually, in front of the Tim Hortons. So.
No, well, that's convenient.
Yeah, they're having their double-doubles.
How about this Jesse Wilkinson?
3 words is not enough, Dean.
Okay. I don't know this guy at all, except through he's reached out to me, online, and boy, oh boy, he seems fired up about some stuff. But
yeah, he's you know what? To his credit, Jesse's actually a pretty talented curler. I've never seen anybody who's combined lawn bowling and MMA to train for curling. So, but he's unique, but he's a good curler though.
Yeah, I think he probably is, but it's interesting. How about the future of rim?
Well, it didn't look good, but now I understand that they've got some new product offerings coming out, maybe. But seeing that BVM was down there for 3 days just when the new iPhone was being launched, it wasn't good timing. Yeah, are you a BlackBerry guy still? I am a BlackBerry guy.
Good for you. I'm an iPhone guy, but I think Canadians should buy BlackBerries too. So
yeah, I got to keep it local. So
and finally, Paul Gausel.
Awesome. He is. Had a chance to have quite a few beers over the years with Paul, and he's one of the true characters and one of the true gentlemen of the sport. So,
you know what? I've tried to have him on before. I can't contact him. He's elusive. But
yeah, he's just sort of like his curling game.
Yeah, I think that adds to the mystery of it all, right?
Absolutely, the mystique of Paul. So.
I mean, yeah, he doesn't make many shots anymore, does he?
Well, I don't think Paul's playing too much, but I've played him in a few spiels up until about 3-4 years ago, and he always seemed to make the right shots against us, though. Yeah, well, it's I wish more kids playing now knew history like that, because it was fascinating. I mean, I was a young guy, really a kid, and just to see him out there was actually the greatest thing for my enthusiasm for curling, because it was not suddenly a guy in an old guy in a bulky sweater. Oh no, yeah, Paul brought the flair and the character to the game, and even if you see him today, he still does that now. So.
All right. Well, if you see him, tell him to give me a shout sometime or send me an email because
I will,
he doesn't seem to respond. Now, Jamie, I give everybody a chance to name their sponsors. I don't know if you guys have any this year, but I hope you do.
Yeah, no, we've got a few. We've got Noise Solutions Incorporated out of Calgary, straight up metal buildings in Calgary as well. Stantec, and the law firm of Politsky, Strelchek, and Millen out of Lloydminster.
All right. Thanks for your time, Jamie. Nice job with that win, and good luck the rest of the season getting those veteran bodies rolling in spiels.
Yeah, sounds good, Dean. Thanks again for having me on.
That's Jamie King on The Curling Show. Follow me on Twitter. I'm Dean Gemmel with a cap D and a cap G, no spaces. And don't mistake using your computer for exercise. Follow a workout program that will help you on the ice with your own copy of Fit to Curl by John Morris. Available at fittocurl.com and at Better Pro Shops. As always, thanks for listening. Here's David Popescu and Black Pudding.